I will do some humming, probably some, oh, I know what I want to do. Yeah, it's all coming to me now. So let's just start. I will do some by coming in for a landing in our own bodies in this moment, in any position that's comfortable. So you could be laying down, you could be seated. Look at this, I can finally sit cross-legged again. Just coming into your body and coming into your awareness, inviting your presence into this moment, into whatever's going on, just to be present with all of it. And as we start breathing, noticing the wave of the breath, but also thinking of the breath as kind of this growing and shrinking. So there's a little bit of a natural expansion and then a release, or you could say a contraction, but it's not like an active contraction. It's just like a release, a coming into yourself. So there's this underlying layer of growing and shrinking with the breath. And we can even imagine that every cell in our body is breathing. It is. But bringing it into our imagination, so there's this natural thing happening, deep cellular breathing in every part of our body. So tuning into that. In whatever way it shows up for you, it may be very blatant or it may be very subtle. Let's just be with that growing and shrinking with the breath for a minute or two. If you feel the need to move at all, you're completely welcome to move in any way that feels good to you. Or to come into sort of relative stillness, also fine. We could also kind of imagine that if being in our normal activities of the day, we're kind of like the shaken up glass of fluids. As we sit, we let the sediment drop down towards the bottom. We let the extra stuff start to drop. And as that sort of dropping is happening, imagine our energy grounding, right? We're connecting to the planet. We're connecting to the earth. We're connecting to the floor, whatever we're on. And you could be laying in bed or seated in a chair, whatever feels good to you. I'm just going to throw this over to... There we go. Letting yourself land, letting your cells come in for a landing. So the cellular level of your body is just going, I'm here right now, with all the things that are also here right now. And we're going to work with this breath. I'm going to come up close to show you. It's a hum, but on the hum, you're going to let your tongue make a kind of orbit around your teeth. So it will look like this. Inhaling whenever you need to. It doesn't have to take, it could go really slow and you might just do like a quarter in one hum, or you might go all the way around or halfway. Go like 3 or 4 times in one direction, 3 or 4 times in the other direction. Or if you really like improvisation, just go in any way that you want to go in there. When you finish the exhale, inhale through your nose so you get that nitric oxide in, really good for your heart and your vascular system. So working with the hum, just letting it spiral, and probably my earbuds are cutting out my hum. So you'll just go on your own sound. And if it feels like too much, take some resting breaths in the middle. It doesn't have to keep going the whole time. Imagine that you're allowing your face, your personality, to just melt and be soft and gooey. Tongue, neck, and throat are vibrating. Taking your time, maybe 3 times around is a lot. Maybe it's once around in one direction, once around in the other. Playing with that for a little bit more time. You may also notice that if you take your tongue behind your teeth, you can just allow it to kind of be like a sea creature rippling and waving. So that's another possibility that for me is takes much less effort. So feel free to go with just letting the tongue undulate in your mouth, and you might hear overtones. And it may happen that as your tongue is around there moving around your face or inside your mouth, that you are going to feel vibrations or different sensations of sound in your head. So just tune into that. It's like you're turning the channel on the radio and you're seeing what comes in. So we've already invited this micro movement, which is kind of macro, kind of large movement into our tongue. If we just go with the undulation of the tongue, it's a little more micro movement, but you may find that your gut body, your inner body wants to also move a little bit. So inviting in any kind of undulations, any kind of ripples and waves, little mini spirals, imagining that your body as a body of water has sort of the freedom of a stream or seagrasses or the ocean. So inviting in this watery imagery into your movement. If you want to hum more, I'm going to do it maybe once or twice more. If you're done with that, feel free to just be done and play in the movement. I'm going to do a couple more rounds. But what I'm doing is kind of going around parts of my mouth on the outside and then bringing my tongue in and letting it move a little, because that gives me a lot of sensation. And when I focus in on that, it really brings my focus into stability. So if that's helpful, play with that. One more thought on that is as you're going, the sound, the humming sound, imagine that is like yum. It's like, oh, this is so delicious. This is the most delicious flavor or movement that I've ever felt. So let yourself tune and attune to that yumminess. Micro movement coming in, undulations, ripples and waves, any kind of movement. Thinking of sort of the whole gut body, tongue to tail, having this freedom. So we're not clamping down, we're not armoring, we're just freeing up and allowing. And if it feels good to lay down, you can do that too. I think for me, the humming is not so easy laying down, it's easier seated. And for me, the sound, like the sound vibration, and I feel like the sound waves in my head are kind of traveling in different sort of shapes as the sound changes. And what I become aware of is really kind of moving to depth and surface. So play with that if you notice that at all. That was a lot. It's a lot to work with that breath. It's a lot of vibration and a lot of effort, it feels like, for me. So I'm going to take it down to the floor and I'm just going to invite some twisting, easy spirals, maybe just my head, maybe my knees falling from side to side, maybe even spiraling my arms in the joint, but just letting myself really drop into the floor, dropping into gravity. Now that I've had that sort of head vibration experience and some micro movement in my body, coming into a bigger spiral. I'm seeing what I can let go of as I move through the spiral, allowing my body to yield into the floor. So as I'm spiraling, either my legs or my head or both, or my arms, just allowing this underlying fluidity to be poured around. So I'm pouring my inner body, and I'm allowing the rest of my body also to express. So there may be ripples and waves coming through the arms, through the shoulders, through your feet. Toes and fingers can fan and open, bringing in that core distal awareness. So playing with however that feels interesting. Ripples, waves, and spirals, either on a very tiny level or on a big level. And it may be that the micro movement is underlying the big movement, the macro movement. So tuning into that layer of awareness where you're really feeling into the movement, feeling into sensation, listening into whatever sounds are happening. We're not shutting out any of the senses. You can close your eyes if you want to and let yourself tune more to sensation and sound, maybe even smell. But if you want to have your eyes open, that's fine too. Just letting yourself spiral and wave around. Pouring your body, allowing the deep breath support, underlying breath support, moving your body with that micro movement, which may be bubbling out to macro movement. And it might be like, oh, it feels weird. What should I do? If you feel like you don't know what to do, just try spiraling one way and then the other with the legs, or spiraling one way or other with the arms or your head, just letting any kind of spiraling, any kind of rotation happen anywhere. Hello, Michael. Tuning into the watery nature, the fluid nature, and thinking about how like water adapts to the container. Like if we pour water into a jar that already has some rocks in it, the water will just surround all the rocks easily. So thinking of that also, that the water in your body can easily adapt to your movement. And it's allowing your body to release tension if that feels good, if you're up for it. Feeling into where movement is starting and where it's going. And this could be very small and slow, or it could also be really big and huge if that feels good to you. Offering this moment with your body to nourish yourself in whatever ways you need to, nourishing the cells in your body, nourishing your tissues, nourishing your fascia, your organs, letting the inner body slide and glide against itself. So there's some freedom in there, especially around the lungs, like that outer lung tissue wants to have a lot of capacity to move. So it's not adhering to the space around it, gliding around the outside of the lungs, even like gliding over the diaphragm and under the diaphragm as well. So the diaphragm isn't all glued up to the body, but there's lots of freedom for movement. Gil Headley just did a really great video. It's on YouTube about what's the difference between shear and gliding. So we need sort of both of them happening in the body in different places. so that we have spaciousness and ease of movement within our body. And anytime things start to get too much, bring it back to stillness or to relative stillness. Coming into underlying shape flow support, just internal flow, supporting all your movement. It's your breath, it's the movement of the blood, it's any kind of little adjustments. Bringing yourself into that awareness. Deep sensory, sensual awareness. Non-judgmental, sensual awareness. What is that? Yeah, so sometimes when I feel like more like a creature or an element, it's easy to be non-judgmental. But if I'm feeling myself as a human, sometimes it's like, oh, I shouldn't do that, or like, that doesn't feel right. I shouldn't be moving that way. That's weird. So invite in your creature, your elements to your experience so that there's a non-judgmental aspect, right? Giving yourself the freedom to move in any way that feels interesting. Offering our bodies novel patterning. So when we start to shift our pattern into something different, there's room for growth. There's room for change. And we also want to do that slowly. We don't want to shove it in too fast. We want to take our time with that. So here I am working with these spirals in my arms, spiraling in, spiraling out. Free flow, spiraling. And I can imagine that I'm just floating as if my body is floating. And in some senses it is, right? It's floating inside of my skin, in my body of water. Going to add music. I may change this, but I'm going to start here. We'll find out how it goes. Experimental. It's ambient fields. Letting the music inform your movement or letting yourself relax into it. I have the image of like a sheet blowing in the wind, or even a flag, a flag blowing in the wind. Letting go of right and wrongness in how you move and just allowing the experience of movement to unfold. Feel free to bring the humming breath back anytime you want to. Inviting your body to move from the fluids, inviting your body to move not from the muscles and the bones so much as from the water in it. We're breathing into that movement. So it's very different experience than effortful movement. Letting your body move from the flow. And if you feel like that's kind of elusive, just listen into what wants to happen in your body. And that message might come like auditory or kinesthetic through your sense, or even visual, and then let yourself respond to that. And letting yourself come back to the growing and shrinking of the breath. And the cellular breathing anytime you need more access to flow. There's a natural wave of breath happening. There's a natural fluidity in your body at all times. Even if you wanted to stop it, even as long as you're alive, that flow will be going on. So letting yourself tune to that life force flow. And within our body, we have both free-flowing fluids, free-flowing water, and more bound water that's more like gel-like, that has more structure. But even that bound gel-like structure has mobility and can shift and change, right? It's not just locked up. There's possibility. There's movement potential in all that fluid. Maybe small, tiny micro movement, allowing that micro movement flow to underlie your sense of being. The flow of being alive. Attuning to any whirlpools, eddies, or spirals that are happening. And it can also be that the movement creates sort of waves of tension flow, and then it shifts into something else. So it's just a tension that's in movement, that's in relationship with your body, with your being. Not like a rigid tension, but tension that allows you to move. Or we could think of it also like the electrical impulses moving through your nervous system. Both sensation coming into your brain, messages going out. Surrendering your own idea of who you are so that you can become who you might become, right? Sometimes we think, or other people sort of hold us in place in who we are, or we do it to ourselves. Let yourself have more spaciousness, taking up as much space as you need to take up, internally and externally. Allowing the movement, even the micro movement or the breath flow, to sort of wash clear your image of who you are, right? Just clearing away the cobwebs of your persona. Maybe attuning to a little bit more radiance, drawing it into yourself and also letting it release out, clearing your own flow. So there's movement coming out and coming in, interwoven in being, interwoven in the experience of being. Allowing curiosity and maybe even a sense of humor to underlie your experience. Don't take yourself too seriously. Allowing your nervous system freedom. Allowing your nervous system to unwind, unravel anything that it needs to unwind and unravel as it's there suspended inside of your body, right? It's suspended and supported by the tissues of your body. And our relationship to the planet, our relationship to gravity is also supporting us, right? Supporting the resilience of our tissues, the springiness of our skin, three-dimensionality of our fascial matrix. There doesn't have to be anything linear happening inside. Linear is pretty much impossible in the body. We're curvilinear. So just by nature, the shape of our bodies is curvy and spirally. Allow yourself to move as if you have never been in your body before and you're just feeling what's possible. And all your habits of pain or holding patterns in this moment can just be different. They can be free. If you have like pains that you go, oh, it's right there, I always feel that, let that have some differentiated movement. Or think of some other part of your body, like just invite that maybe just for this minute, that's not the main focus. There's spaciousness around it. Let it come in. So this has all been ambient fields, Jeff Gersh's music, and this is Olafsfjordur. I don't know how to say it, but I think it was made in Iceland. Just giving yourself a few minutes to rest in the stillness or in the silence of your own experience so that you don't have to do anything. Just letting your body process anything that was happening. Coming back into the ground of being, right? Here we are on the ground, in the ground of being, in this flow of being. And our experience of being can change dramatically, quickly, but that might be destabilizing. So sometimes it's good for things to just take their time. Let the body move slowly through changes. Let your body mind have time to shift. Although sometimes just the removal of one little bit of tension somewhere changes everything. Just asking yourself, is there anything I can let go of? Is there anything I'm still holding on to that I don't really need to hold on to anymore? Any old crusty ideas? Any sort of imprinted ways of being that I've received from being a human on the planet? Anything to let go of? Or it could be, is there anything that I'm ready to lean into? Is there anything that I'm ready to connect with? Is there anything that I'm ready to invite into my life? Or into the experience of being? So often we focus on letting go, but what about inviting in some wonder, inviting in some joy, inviting in some connection to anything?